My parents moved there when I was probably 9, and it was due to the situation in Haiti. And it took us a year probably to learn how to speak Spanish. And it was a lovely place to grow up. It was, we went to school and we had to take the bus down, you know, like from the mountains, because we lived in a place called El Señorial. And we spent probably like 5 years living in Puerto Rico. I speak Spanish fluently, so I don't regret it at all. So I'm totally in tune with the Caribbean. I consider myself more Caribbean than probably Haitian. And when we returned to Haiti, I was introduced to Haitian art and a place called the Centre d'Art. And it was, now I'm doing a whole study of it and presenting it again because it really did not tell the story properly. Anyway, the Centre d'Art opened its door in Haiti in the 1945 or 44. Anyways, I got there late, of course. I mean, I wasn't even born then. Anyways, the place was the most democratic. I mean, Haiti, yes. I mean, we did a revolution. It's supposed to be democratic. It's supposed to be this. It's the most stratified place on the planet. And the majority class of Haitians did not have any place where to present their work, their art and stuff like that. And when it opened, I mean, it was such a particular thing that, I mean, artists in Haiti gained international recognition in less than 2 years from the opening of that space. And this has never been acknowledged. Oh yes, all Haitian artists are painters. Haitians are painters. I mean, they have like all types of stories to tell you, which are wonderful because it's created probably an industry out of this folk art thing. But the reality is that the artists at the beginning of this, and these were the ones that I've always emulated, always loved, were, I mean, truly real artists that, despite everything, they brought their wares. They came from the mountains. They came from, you know, like from the provinces to the South because they heard that it was a place where they accepted everybody. So it was the most democratic institution, which is still alive in it. I mean, which is still vigent. I mean, which is absolutely incredible. 80 years later, I've been asked to curate the show in Port-au-Prince of the Centre d'Art. So I mean, that story to me is very dear and very important. And we're trying to reframe it, to retell it properly, because really it wasn't that everybody was a painter. They were like a group of maybe a dozen artists that, I mean, arrived from nowhere, presented their work, and suddenly they were on covers of, you know, like Time, Paris Match, and places, I mean, art reviews like that. So when I returned from our foray, my parents decided to return to Haiti. I was introduced immediately to the Centre d'Art, and I've been their friends ever since. And I've had my first show at the Centre d'Art in Haiti. And always wanted to be an artist, always did art, but of course I couldn't tell my parents that that's what they were going to pay their money, you know, like in Canada for me to study. So I've always painted since, you know, I was 15, but I did my studies in Canada. I'm a geographer by profession and never professed anything of that sort, and I've been painting ever since. I mean, and I can say I've always done what I wanted, so I mean, that's a real privilege in this world. When I moved to France, I got married and had 2 kids in Paris. And when I decided that I did not go there to establish myself. I mean, I went there for a project which ended, and because I had 2 kids, you know, I mean, I was like, and one day I came through Miami. I never liked Miami back then because I used to pass through and I didn't like it. But one time I stopped here and I called friends because I was on my way to Mexico for an exhibit, and I had to stay overnight. So they picked me up and they took me to South Beach, and it was totally crazy. When I went, I mean, they were like young kids, you know, like as mannequins in the stores on the beach. I didn't even know where I was. And I thought it was very interesting. When I came back to Paris, I said to my wife, we're moving. And she said, where? She's British, by the way. and we're going to Miami. He said, what is Miami? So we flew down to check it out, and we bought a house that weekend, and we had to move, because we made all the papers and everything. Anyways, we've been here almost 25, 26 years now. So and we like it very much. She enjoys it, I enjoy it. The kids are totally from Miami. When they pass Little Haiti, they think they're in Haiti. Oh, this is Haiti. That's where I was. That's where my family is from. I said, no, this is Little Haiti. Anyways, it's been great. Yeah, I love this city. Well, they tend to be around this city. I moved to Miami, and it was. I realized immediately that this was not the South of the U.S., because one has an idea of what the South is, but that it was more of a North Caribbean city. And it's become more and more so. We have the whole of the Caribbean here, as well as the whole of South America. So, this city is not looking north, it's looking south, whether you like it or not. People are very upset when I say that, but the reality is that, it's a new city. It's not been around very, very long, but the people that are in it have a long history, and they are all not from Miami per se, but from the Caribbean and from South America. So they all come with their stories, and their stories are one more extraordinary than the next. And Haiti, I think, stands very, very high up in that, kind of very florid, how would I say it, history. Haiti's first country in the world that to stand against slavery, the first black independent nation, etc., and a lot of other dramas, because each of these things are dramas. And I've been exploring those, and most of my colleagues, artists in Miami, somehow are telling that story, that same kind of story. And whether they do it, as contemporary art, whatever they want to call it, but the base story is simply that they are trying to make themselves, understand the whole situation. And you have to, and I've talked to them, and that's why I'm interested in curating, because I'm trying to gear that story and try to put it in under light, because it's a poignant story, it's a very complicated story, and they have to talk about it because that's what they are. And I've organized a series of exhibits that I call the Global Caribbean, where of course, if you're whether you live in Japan and you're from the Caribbean, you carry your bag on your back very, very firmly, and I've realized that, and we've been discussing all sorts of colonial stories, independent stories, meddling the United States. What does the United States think they are? And and I think that's exactly, they have the same story. We were all colonized by Europeans, and that's why I left Europe, because I realized that I was not from the old world, I was from the new world, and that we had to figure it out and present ourselves as such. Europe is one thing, the new world is another one. And I'm trying to make sure that people understand that from, Alaska all the way down to Tierra del Fuego, we are in the new world. And whatever our stories are, that's what we have to talk about. Not, our relationships with, Europe, and we have our own. Because, even the United States had to stand up and say enough of this abuse, and blah, 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 going to war. As they are going to war, they are still dealing with Europe. It's such a story, and I haven't not even touched the tip of the iceberg. So, I have a lot of work to do, a lot. Well, that was quite surprising, because when I went to France, Haitians think they've won over the French, and that's an old history and out, to the garbage or whatever. The French, the same thing. Haiti is like a figment of their imagination, but it was a real story, and it's still vision. And when I got there, I realized after 1 or 2 months, I realized, I understand these people. I am exactly like they are, and they react to me, like it was as if I had always been there. I mean, and it took me years to figure it out. We are, like they are, very Cartesian. We don't put all of our eggs in one little basket. So and really that's exactly how they are. And the more I realized that, the more at ease I became with them, and the more at ease they became with me. And it's been, like a love-hate kind of relationship, because, we have those in France, they've erased us. Even now they are in a scramble, because with this thing called Black Lives Matter. Okay, what happened with that? You had the first, real debacle, with that island. The amount of people that lost their fortunes, because you went to Saint-Domingue, as they used to call it, and you made a fortune in the summer. That's the way that's their idea of that place. When they lost it, it was, oh my God, because they had a control over sugar, just like now the Arabs have control over the oil. Whatever. That's exactly the situation, and they lost it from one day to the next. In 10 years, they realized it. They sold the Louisianas to the Americans to go and get it back, that little island. They lost it. And it's been, it's been, a trail of tears for the French and a trail of tears for the Haitians, because practically, more than, almost 80 to 90% of the slave population that was there died in the process. So it was not a simple affair. So all of these things, you tend to put them aside, but when you really look at them and you read it, and you say, oh my God, this was very serious. And that's why I try to, and they love the idea that I'm trying to explain it to them, because they don't know anything about it. So, I was quite surprised to receive the medal, because, they say, what did they say? I'm a true friend of France. Little do they know. But anyways, very touching. And not only they gave me one, they gave me, now I'm like a officer. It's like a gradation kind of thing. And the last one, the third one would be like, I don't know what. Yeah, commander. But it was very touching and very, it means what it means. It doesn't come with a cape and any stipends or anything like that, nothing. But it's very nice. It was quite how would I say, daring for me to apply well, they invited me, to tell you frankly. They have the Cultural Affairs of Miami, and they've invited me to participate in, they're building this new courthouse, probate courthouse. I'm not very familiar with the legal system, and I don't want to be familiar with it either. So I was invited, and I was scrambling in my head, what could I do that would be of importance for the city. And I've always loved the Everglades, and I think it's the most extraordinary piece of land in the United States. It's like going back to the tertiary. You expect a volcano to erupt behind it, and expect some dinosaurs to plop through, because it's really an antediluvian kind of scenarios. So I went there, and I've always been fascinated by all these birds that are descendants of the dinosaurs, and alligators and all these things. So I said, let me see about that. And when I opened the Wikipedia, the first sentence, that it's the biggest water filter on the planet. And this city and others in South Florida will be growing until, they will not stop, because humans want water, need water, and function with water. And the fact that you have pure water coming out of this Everglades is astonishing. And the Audubon Society decided, because of last century, the ladies wanted to have feathers in their hats and headgears, that they almost depleted, God knows how many birds have been destroyed because of that. So they've turned it into a park. But really, the importance of the Everglades is that it is a water filter of, like planetary, I mean, it gives water, fresh water. I mean, it might be black. You can still drink it apparently. I mean, I never drink that water, but it's tannin, it's nothing. It will just dye your interior. But, and I said, well, I have to put that as a warning. I mean, and the law has to uphold in the sense that they should, defend it from, encroachment, I mean, pollution, et cetera. So I've done my little project, and that's exactly what I explained to the judges. And when I saw one of them, almost tears in her eye, I said, I've got this job. But it was really heartfelt, and I think that it's also a very beautiful piece of it. I mean, when you go in there, you don't know where you are, really. It's really fascinating. So I've decided to present my project, and here I am. I have to do it before the end of the year. So it's a lot. I mean, I thought it would be a breeze, but it's not. It's like 30 feet tall of very detailed work, because I wanted to have like students come from the university to tell me if I'm going right, if my birds look right, my plants are right. I was looking for a space. I was, of course, at what is now called Ulais. I mean, I joined them and I had my studio there, and it became too small. So I really wanted to buy a place, and a friend of mine told me there's a place for sale, blah, blah, blah. And we decided to leave. I left the sophomore year art center, and I came to it was in the design district first. And I went there, and then I was very much, looking around. And I found this building for sale. It was literally for nothing. So we bought it between two artists, and we had absolutely no clue of what it is to own land. You know what I'm saying? First of all, we thought we were buying it, that we could, we had to choose first, because I mean, the way the light comes in, either you were in the front or in the back. He won. I thought he had won and be in the front, and I lost. I was in the back. But after clearing what I have as garden there, it took me 1.5 years to kill the garbage that had been thrown in it. Okay, the day I had my first plant, he became green with envy. And I knew, one of our days was counted. So I ended up having to buy him off. So I owned the building. And right after that, they announced that they were building this cultural center. So they asked me, to leave, because, it was part of the plans of the thing. I said, yes, but you have to move me somewhere else. We don't do that. I said, well, think again. You'll have to do something. So the architect came, and with some city people, and they said, well, let's keep him here. And they built around it. So I'm totally surrounded. Of course, like die, whatever. I mean, they'll take it over or whatever. Anyways. But here I am, and they built this really magnificent little center. It was supposed to be like an elderly cafe. And I was with the architect, no, this is impossible, we have to do a gallery here, blah, 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 blah. And he listened to me, and they put a gallery. And when it was open, they told me, there is your gallery. What are you going to do with it? So I was putting, as a fait accompli, that I was to be somehow taking care of it. And I've tried the best I could, but that's not my job, not my role. They never paid me for it. But I've organized and I started all these projects, which are still going on, but with other people, because I'm tired, because it was all from my pocket. Yes, I want to do a show in the Caribbean. Well, Edward. In the end, the French came to the help. I knew people, and they said, listen, they expect me to do this, and they did help. They financed me for 5 years, the French government. That's how come I get, recognition, because they realized that it was the first time that art was being presented as a regional, concept. And I guess I've made my point, and it's still going on, and it's become, the trading mark of the city. Is the center, as I said, it's the north of the Caribbean, not the south of the US.